me to the moon. Did you guys watch this? This is Channing Tatum. I'm a Channing Tatum fan. I'm a Channing Tatum fan because of Chung Lee, who brought Channing Tatum to events. Like Channing was getting by, it was, supporting the fights. Turned out he was buddies with Chung Lee, and when Chung stopped fighting, we kept seeing Channing Tatum either way. I was on board. I was going to double him, by the way. I was going to double Channing Tatum in a movie. I got called from a gentleman in New York who was a stunt coordinator. And he's there. There's a movie coming out, Channing Tatum. You're a stunt double. Here's the thing. You don't want to be put in a wig every day. Trust me. It's hot. It's a mess. You'll be uncomfortable. Grow your hair out. Start growing your hair out. I started growing my hair out. I was working. I was in real estate back then. I kind of doing my thing. I'm on camera trying to come for you guys. And now I'm breaking my own #1 rule, which is I'm looking different today than I used to. Like the guy that goes out, he bleaches his hair before he's over with you guys. He didn't just help himself get over. He just confused you to who he is. Or the guy that goes and fights and puts glasses on before he goes to the press conference. Before he's over. So now he hasn't helped get himself over. He just confused you with who he is. Not doing that very thing. I'm growing my hair out. And boy, we had 2 weeks, but 2 weeks turns into 2 months. Oh, and by the way, in these 2 months, I'm getting some pretty big asks from the gentleman that's getting me the role with Channing Tatum. I got to tell you, I'm doing some favors. I'm making some calls. Dana's helping out and getting me tickets to this event. Like there was things that were leaned on me, but it was working because doing this Channing Tatum movie. This guy's getting it for me. Essentially, that would make him my boss. And you got to understand, it was like $800 a day, and I might be able to get a month's work on this. That would be such a massive, impactful financial win in Chael's life in 2006. And boy, another couple of months go by. And I keep getting these asks, and I keep doing it. Now, at this point, I'm no longer growing my hair out. It's as simple as, yep, growing the hair out. It's one of these things. And before you know it, not only was that movie made, not only was that movie on the shelves, which at that time was Hollywood and Blockbuster Video, I had rented it, seen it, and returned it. It takes a long time. From the time a movie is made, it takes a while before it gets to the theaters. It sits in the theaters for a meaningful amount of time before it gets to the shelves at the rental store. All of these things are happening. I'm now face-to-face. I'm in New York. I'm face-to-face with the guy. And he yells at me. Says, you didn't grow your hair out like I told you to. We're having some meal somewhere. He pushes the check over to me. You're paying for this and you don't listen to me. And this was like the 10th. And this has cost me thousands of dollars. Trying to get this job. I very calmly, it's about 2 a.m. I just fought in Bodog, fought Amar Sulawev. It's my first top 10 win. Out celebrating at Denny's. And I said to him, not only is that movie already filmed, it's already been released, it's already on the shelves. As a matter of fact, I rented it. And he folded. He folded right there and started laughing. He goes, well, I'm busted. And I let it slide. That is where we were. He said, well, I'm busted. And I let it slide. That's my Channing Tatum story. So even though I don't know Channing, I lived a part of my life thinking Channing knew me and wanted me to come in and double him on a movie. So I go watch this film. And it's a film meant to be a satire based around the concept that we, the United States, filmed the moon landing. That the moon landing is a farce. And a conspiracy can be very fun. Now, it's much like pro wrestling, or watching a movie for that matter. There's a part of you where you must suspend reality. But if you can suspend reality, boy, you can get convinced. You can really go down some roads. And hey, there's a shadow over here. And it looks like a guy's got a camera there. And Nixon called from a landline to an astronaut on the moon, a landline. It starts getting interesting. As long as you suspend reality and let yourself go down this road. Not to mention, in 1969, we would have had a very clear motivation for lying, which is we were in a space race against the Russians. So, in the world of warfare, we lie on a daily basis. So do they. And if you can get your lies believed, it's no different than the bully that you used to have to deal with in the 5th grade. You never actually fought the guy. And you never actually saw the guy fight anybody else. But he was the bully and everybody stayed away from him. He'd put on an act. He'd put on the act. Or he'd come in and he'd tell you about some scrap he got in over the weekend. He would lie. So our military, of course we do those things. We try to scare, we try to intimidate. That would just be a massive whopper. But I would at least understand the motivation for filming the landing and lying. Can we all agree? Okay. So save that thought because we got 2 astronauts in space right now. They're at the International Space Station. And they can't come down. And NASA is the ones that sent them up. Now, I have my own personal problems with NASA. When I am president, they will be brought in and they will need to explain and justify their existence. They will need to explain and justify what we have in this world because of them and what directions they're even heading in, even in a world of fantasy. Like Elon Musk is trying to occupy Mars, and whether you get there or not, he's got this vision. I want to hear what their dream even is and why they exist. But save that thought. They put 2 astronauts up in the space station, and they can't get them down. Those are real people with real families. That for me, would be horrifying. I am afraid of heights to a degree. So I could only imagine being stuck in space, not to mention, you don't fully understand how those dimensions work. Like down here on Earth, we human beings only understand this world in 4 dimensions. But they say that a dog could have 5 dimensions. And many people do theorize that we've got 6 dimensions or more. And I share that with you because we don't know the rules in space, where you don't have gravity. Just for example, like let's say that you fell out of one of these, let's say you fell out of the rocket. Somehow you got out, you're floating in space. You're literally floating. You would think, well, you would die. You would instantly die. But you don't know that. Well, sure I do, Chael. They don't have oxygen up there. You don't know that you need oxygen up there. Do you see where it gets confusing? You didn't know that you couldn't get oxygen underwater until you stuck your head in there. Okay, great. Well, when's the last time you went to space and tried to get a breath of air? Well, you don't have any food, Chael. You quickly starved to death. Well, how do you know you need food? How do you know that your body metabolizes? How do you know these things? There is theories out there where you would float endlessly forever. I don't support those, and that kind of defies logic. I'm sharing to you, for a guy like me that's scared of heights, like this would be an ultimate fear, not to mention an inconvenience. You got a man and a woman who are married, but not to each other, up in space, and you don't know when you're going to get them down. Now, they've picked an arbitrary number of February, but the number February is arbitrary for one reason. They've now hired Elon Musk to get these guys back. The day they announced February, they hadn't hired Musk. Relevance being, they would have no idea when they could get them back. They just bought themselves, in the court of public opinion, 6 months. And there is a rule in life that however much time you have to do something is how much time it will take to do something. Like there's that rule in life. So now that they've told us February, just by example, you can be assured that you can break their plate for Thanksgiving. They won't be home in November. But it's one of these things, and then particularly when you're dealing with government, it will never be ahead of time. And I'm only sharing with you, how did this happen? How did we get there? Why is it that NASA can't get them down? When I tell you that I would bring them in, I would like them to justify what it is that they have done. There might be a beautiful answer, by the way. I would just like them to say what it is. So now you're going to a situation where you've got to go bring in a private entity who said he can get them down. And if anyone can, you went to the right guy, right? There is a Tesla on its way to Mars right now. But he's never done it before. He doesn't actually know he could get them down. Doesn't actually know how to get them down. Just believes that he can find a way and he's got the right team, he's got the right materials. By the way, you got him a hell of a long time, 6 months. But it's a very tough situation. And the reason I marry these two together, right, the Channing Tatum in the movie, the reason I marry these two together is I have heard people say that it's not real, it isn't happening. And that is the part that would confuse me. Like in 1969, we're trying to battle the Russians, and it was militaristic. It wasn't a battle for space. You're arguing space as a way of flexing your military. There would be good motivation to lie, but this would be the opposite. You're making yourself a fool, right? You're not only looking like a fool, you're openly saying we can't do it. We're never going to be able to do it. So what we've done is called somebody else that say they can do it. We have no idea if they can, neither does he. But he said that he can, and we're to the point where we're saying we cannot. And there'd be no motivation to do that. But there again is where you have the opportunity. The Chinese should have come in instantly and made a claim that they could get them back. The Russians should have already made this claim to the world. We can get them down. We contacted the U.S. and offered to get them down. They turned down our support. But nobody did that. It's a very interesting thing, and it's hard to believe that they wouldn't do that in the vein of an idea of something that was lied about from the beginning. And it's just a fascinating topic, in my opinion. It's very horrific. And before we go here and point fingers like Chael's getting ready to do, let's get them back. And if there's any chance that they see this, right, is there any kind of a feed up there? Do they get any level of entertainment besides trying to figure out how I sleep over here and you sleep over here for the next 6 months? You know, if there's a chance that they see this, I would like them to know we're thinking about them.